the previous episode, we were discussing something about the use case diagram. For this episode, we have to discuss the sequence diagram. A sequence diagram is one of the interaction diagram. It shows how the object interacting each other. That means there are different objects in the system, then they will communicate each other by exchanging messages. So the sequence diagram will demonstrate how the order of message will be during the object's communication in the system. So here we'll define the sequence diagram and we'll discuss also the components of the use case diagram and also what are fragments in the use case diagram. This is the main concept of this sequence diagram for this episode. So let's see a sequence diagram. It is one of the interaction diagram, or it will describe the pattern of communication among sets of interacting objects. So as we said before, as we know, different kinds of objects communicate each other by sending and receiving a message. For example, let's see the client-server architecture. Always the client will send a request for the server. The server will grant or will provide the required resource for the clients. So this is a kind of communication. Such kinds of communication will be depicted by the sequence diagram. Yeah. So the sequence diagram is one of important diagram in interaction diagram. Simply it shows how the message communication between different objects will be. For example, we'll have two objects. Yeah, we have here object A and we have object B. So object A will send a message, then object B will reply something, then again object B will send something. So this is a kind of interaction or communication between object A and B. So such kinds of interaction will be depicted by a sequence diagram. So it is one of the important interaction diagram for sequence diagram is one of important diagram among the interaction diagrams. Or in general, we will depict the flows of message or the orders of message, the sequence of message during the object's interaction. So simply the sequence diagram shows the flows of message, the orders of message from top to down approach. It will follow top-down approach. So it shows the order of interaction. Yeah, the order of interaction. This sequence diagram also called event diagram. Yeah, also called event diagram. Also called event diagram. So the sequence diagram will have the following components. The first component of sequence diagram is the participants. Maybe it will be an actor or it will be object. Yeah, it will be an actor or it will be an object. So the first component for sequence diagram is already an object or an actor, collectively known as a participant. There must be a participant. There's the thing, there will be a message. Yeah, a message. Message is the content or the information that the participants will exchange it each other. Yeah, maybe one object may send a message, the other may receive, or maybe will reply again later on. So there will be a message. The second component of the sequence diagram is a message. The third component of the sequence diagram is the lifeline. It shows indicates the lives of the participant objects. It shows the life of the participant actors. So the last and the fourth object components of the sequence diagram is activation bar. This shows how the object and when and how the object will be active in the message exchange. So we'll see this four fundamental things one by one. Let's see what an actor is. As we know before, as we defined in the sequence in the use case diagram, actors could be a person, a role, which initiates the use case diagram, which initiates the use cases in the use case diagram. But actor here In the sequence diagram, it means that it is a role played by an entity that interacts with the subject is called an actor. A role played by an entity that interacts with the subject is called an actor. Yeah, it represents a role of somebody, or it is a role. An actor is, it will be a person, it could be a role, it could be something. So actor will be represented always at this. In the sequence diagram, the actor will be represented in a such a way. So this indicates that this is one of the participant in the sequence diagram. So this is an actor is one of the main roles of a person or any system role. So an actor is one of the main component. The second component of the use case diagram is the lifeline. So this lifeline will show how each participant objects will stay in the communication. Yeah, there are the participants. Those participants will stay for a certain period of time in the sequence diagram. So this lifeline will indicate that the life of each participant object is in the sequence diagram. So simply this box will indicate the lifelines of the object which is participated in a sequence diagram. Most of the time it's positioned at the top of the diagram. That means the life of the object is indicated by this particular component of use case diagram. The second component is the information exchange or the content. The content, the message deposit interaction between the object and other represented objects, or there are different kinds of objects which is participated in a certain communication or interaction. This interaction will be represented by the arrow, yeah, the arrow with the content of the message. So this is indicates what a message. So the message is simply the information which is exchanged or shared between the objects, and it's represented by the arrows. They are in the sequential order on the lifeline. The core of the sequence diagram is formed by message and lifeline. For example, let's see here. See here. Here we have a certain object. Since it is a fragmented, we have a certain object here, and again we have a certain object. So this object will initiate a message or will send a message for this object. Let's say this is obj1. Yeah. Let's say this is obj2. We have here obj1. In this case, we can say obj1 initiates a message and send it to the object 2. So the two objects are ready for communication. So we will also deposit by these lines. The second, the last component of use case diagram is the activation bar. As I mentioned before, it indicates if the participant objects are active or not. Yeah, if they are active or not. So this is always indicated by the activation bar. So it will shows how the object is active or not. Yeah. So activation bar is to show that participant is active on sending or on receiving in the of the message. For example, here this object previously called at obj1 is active to send a message, and here this obj2 is active to receive a message. So this phenomena will be already represented by the activation bar. So the activation bar will indicate the sending participant is busy while it sends the message. The receiving participant is busy after message has been received by a certain object. So the activation bar will be represented by this box. Yeah, this box will indicate the activation bar. Yeah, this box indicates the activation bar. So these are the four components in the use case diagram. When we draw the use case diagram, we have to combine these four fundamental components of use case diagram. Let's talk about the message. Yeah, when we think about the message is the basic component of the use diagram. So what are the types of message in this sequence diagram? So the sequence diagram will have different kinds of messages. We'll categorize those messages differently. So the first message is already call message. It's also called a call message. It defines a particular communication between the lifelines of an interaction, which represents the target life has invoked an operation. So if it is an invocation, one object will invoke the other. Now, one object will invoke the other object. It will call, it will send a message, it will initiate the message. So such kinds of message will be call message. It is it is invocation, or one object will invoke another object. So this call message is represented by in a such a way. For example, this object already invokes this object. Yeah, invokes this object. Or we can say this object will call for this object. So this kinds of message is called call message. That means one object may initiate to send a message for the other object. So call message is one of the examples of another message. The other is already the return message. The return message defines a particular communication between the lifeline and the interaction. It represents the flow of information from the receiver to what? To the corresponding caller message. As we know that previously the object will call or will invoke the other object. So those particular the called object may return when may reply. So this reply will be indicated by this dash line. Yeah, this dash line. For example, if this message will in a reply for this, yeah, this is what we call this is a call message. Yeah. So it is always the caller, the receiver will reply for the caller. So in a such a way, the message is called already reply or return message. So for example, this object was called by the caller. Yeah, this object was called by the caller. Then according to the caller's concept, it will send a message for this object. So the second types of message that we have is also the return message. The third one is already the self message. The self message, it will describe communication of particular between the life of an internet that represent a message of what? The same lifeline. So one object may invoke, may call for himself. At this time, we'll have a self message. So the self message will describe on the same lifeline, or one object may call for itself. Such kinds of message will be called a call message. So always this is represented by this kinds of a message. The other one is already a self message, that is already a recursive message. Yeah. A recursive message sent for recursive purpose called a recursive message. In other words, it can be said that the recursive message is a special case of the self message at represented the recursive calls. We have the create message. The create message describes communication. Well, there is a new communication will be created. Yeah, there will be a new communication will be created. Yeah, the communication will be created. So, particularly between the lifeline of an interaction, describes that the target lifeline has been instantiated. So this is called a create message. So the create message will have the keyword, the stereotype create. Yeah, the stereotype create. So we have the create message is another types of message. The other message is already a destroy message. It describes the communication, particularly between the lifeline of an interaction that is a request to be destroyed the life cycles of the target. Maybe the object's lifeline may be destroyed or maybe end up. So this time we will send a message to destroy those particular objects. Those objects necessarily will not exist after destroying it. So the teacher's message will be in a such a way or represented by in a such a way. So the other types of message in use case diagram is already a destroy message. The other types of message is already synchronous message. A synchronous message is represented by this arrow. Yeah, a synchronous message is represented by this arrow, or is represented by a solid line with a solid arrowhead. The symbol is used when a sender must wait for a response to a message before it continues. Always, the sender will wait a response. Yeah, will wait a response from the receiver. So at this time, we are going to represent it using the synchronous message symbol. This is the synchronous message symbols. That means the sender will wait a response from the receiver before it continues. Then diagrammatically, it will be represented in such a way. The asynchronous message also represented by the solid line with the line arrowhead. Asynchronous message do not require any response. So the asynchronous message, it doesn't matter whether the response is uh, or replied from the receiver or not. Yeah, asynchronous message do not require response before the sender continues. Only the call should be included in that diagram. So the synchronous message is represented by in such a way. Yeah, the synchronous message is represented by in such a way. I hope you all get the difference between the synchronous and asynchronous message. Always the synchronous message waits a response. Don't forget that. The synchronous message always waits a response before it continues. If you have such kinds of communication, you have to use this symbol. Whereas the asynchronous message, it doesn't matter whether the response is respond or not before it continues. So always is represented by these symbols. The other types of message will have a found message and a lost message. So the found message always represented by this. Yeah, the found message always represented by this. The lost message already represented by this. So the lost message are those messages that are either sent but not arrive at intended receiver, or which go to the recipient not shown on the current diagram. You see, the lost message is already the message lost. Yeah, the sender or the caller will send the message. The caller will send the message. Yeah, the caller will send the message, but they are not arrived at the desired receiver. They are lost. They are lost. Such kinds of message is called lost message. Always it will depict by this diagram. Yeah, always it is depicted by this symbol. The other thing, we have a found message. A found messages are those that arrive from unknown source. Yeah, the source of the message is not well known, or the sender is not known. Yeah, but they arrive somewhere. But they arrive at the receiver side. Such kinds of message known as found message. The found message are those that arrive from unknown sender or from a sender not shown on the current diagram. They are denoted going to or coming from an empty point element. Yeah, such kinds of message is called found message. So the message will be lost message. That means the receiver is unknown because it's lost. No one will receive it. The other thing, we don't know who is the sender, where the message originates, but we the object will receive it. Such kinds of message is known as the found message. Always it will be depicted by this symbol. So the other thing, let's talk about the sequence fragments. Fragments are represented conditional structures that affect the flows of the message. It's represented by a box called combined fragment. Encloses part of interaction inside a sequence diagram. The type of fragment is shown by fragment operator. The three most common fragments are options, alternative, and loops. So we have three fundamental fragments in a sequence diagram: the option, the alternative, and the loop. Option fragments, it represents a simple choice of behavior between the options. It is a choice. Modeled will either occur or it not. occur based on the particular conditions. A card condition is optional for optional fragments. For example, a customer is represented with the option to choose gift wrapping when completing a purchase. The customer will either select gift wrapping or not. So we can represent in a such a way. So this is what we call a fragments. Yeah, option fragment. So option fragment has such a meaning. So this is in a sequence diagram. The person will purchase something from online store. If the person will purchase a certain fragment, he will have choose a gift wrapping. This is how the option fragment will be represented. The other fragment is alternative fragments. It is modeled the classic if-then-else programming statement. So there's an option, there is a certain condition. Based on that particular condition, it may be or it will choose the first or not. So the interaction operator is alt. In this fragment, the flow of message deposit mutual exclusive choose between two paths. The process flow along either one or other path. For example, the customer complete the purchase will either choose to pay by a card or by wire transfer, not both. Yeah, not both. There is an option. The customer maybe select this option. Yeah, the customer maybe choose this option. Will follow this option. If what? If the payment is with card, or it will follow the other way. Yeah, it will follow the other way, or it will follow this way. Yeah, it will follow this way. Pay with transfers. So in this case, there are two options. In the previous case, there is a precondition. If that precondition fulfilled, there is the option. There is not two choices there. The other thing for iterative communications, there is a loop fragment. It shows a repeating number of times in a sequence diagram. It uses the keyword loop. So during the loop fragment, there are an iterative situations. There is repeating situations. The communication is repeating again and again after a certain condition will be fired. Yeah. So this is related with the for loop. This is the loop fragment. It shows the repeating numbers of time in a sequence diagram. It uses the keyword loop. For example, in this figure, it shows that here is a loop. Yeah. There's a condition has next until the has next condition. This condition becomes false. Click next. Test item will what? Continue again and again.